The man who would save thousands of American and British lives was already dead. He lay on a cold slab in a morgue in London, nameless, friendless, and utterly forgotten by the world. He had died from rat poison, a tragic end to a tragic life. But fate and British intelligence had a different plan for him. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a spy. He was a homeless drifter. Yet, in a few months, this dead man would outsmart Adolf Hitler, redirect the entire German army, and change the course of World War II. This is the incredible, true story of Operation Mincemeat. The year is 1943. The world is on fire. The Allies, America and Britain, have finally pushed the Nazis out of North Africa. Victory there was sweet, but now they face a terrifying problem. They need to attack Europe. They need to breach Fortress Europe, the massive defensive wall Hitler has built around the continent. Winston Churchill calls the Mediterranean the soft underbelly of the crocodile. But everyone knows where the next strike must land. It is Sicily. If you look at a map, Sicily is the football being kicked by the boot of Italy. It is the obvious stepping stone. It is the only logical place to launch an invasion. The problem is, the Nazis know it too. Adolf Hitler is not a fool. He knows the Allies are coming for Sicily. He begins pouring reinforcements into the island. Machine gun nests, tank divisions, minefields. If the Americans and British land there as expected, it will be a bloodbath. It will be D-Day, but with zero element of surprise. The beaches will run red. In London, in a smoky, windowless basement room beneath the Admiralty building, a small group of intelligence officers is trying to solve this impossible puzzle. Their job is not to move armies, but to move minds. They need to convince Hitler that the obvious target, Sicily, is actually a fake. They need to make the Germans look the other way. This secret team is known as the 20 Committee. Why? Because in Roman numerals, 20 is XX, double cross. Two men sit at the center of this plot. First, there is Ewan Montague, a brilliant, sharp-witted naval intelligence officer who was a lawyer in civilian life. Second is Charles Cholmondeley, a tall, quirky flight lieutenant with a strange mustache and an even stranger imagination. They are brainstorming ideas, most of them ridiculous. But Cholmondeley remembers an idea from an old memo, the Trout Memo it was called. It compared catching spies to fly fishing. You need to dangle the right bait to get the fish to bite. One of the suggestions in that memo came from the assistant to the director of naval intelligence, a man named Ian Fleming, who would later go on to write the James Bond novels. Fleming has suggested a plot straight out of fiction. Find a dead body, dress him up as an officer, plant fake secret documents on him, and drop him somewhere the Germans will find him. The documents would say, "We are not attacking Sicily, we are attacking Greece." It sounds insane. It sounds macabre. Using a corpse as a secret agent? But Montague and Cholmondeley realize it is their best shot. If they can pull it off, the Germans will move their tanks to Greece, leaving Sicily wide open. But first, they have a gruesome problem to solve. They need a body. You can't just use any body. It has to be a man who looks like he died at sea. No visible wounds. No signs of illness that would be obvious in an autopsy. And he has to be fresh enough to be convincing, but preserved enough to last the journey. They scour the hospitals and morgues of wartime London. It is a dark and quiet search. They cannot tell anyone what they are doing. "We need a body," they whisper to coroners, "for specialized purposes." Finally, at St. Pancras Hospital, they find him. His name is Glyndwr Michael. He was a 34-year-old Welsh laborer. He was homeless, mentally unstable, and incredibly lonely. Distraught and hungry, he had eaten bread smeared with rat poison. The phosphorus in the poison killed him, but it also did something else. It caused fluid to fill his lungs. To a pathologist, this would look exactly like death by drowning or hypothermia in the freezing ocean.
Montague and Cholmondeley stand over the body of Glyndor Michael. They feel a strange sense of solemnity. This poor man, who was ignored by society while he was alive, is about to become the most important man in the British military. They claim the body. They put him on ice. And then the real work begins. Glyndor Michael no longer exists. They have to build a new person from scratch. They decide to make him a captain in the Royal Marines, a rank high enough to carry important documents, but low enough not to be recognized by everyone. They give him a name, William Martin, Captain Bill Martin. But a name isn't enough. To fool the German intelligence service, the Abwehr, Captain Martin needs a life. He needs a personality. He needs a soul. Montague and Cholmondeley start to become fiction writers. They sit in their office and ask, who is Bill Martin? Is he funny? Is he serious? Does he have a girlfriend? He definitely has a girlfriend, Montague decides, and he loves her very much. They need a photo of this girlfriend to put in the dead man's wallet. They ask a secretary in the office, a woman named Jean Leslie, for a photograph. She gives them a picture of herself smiling by a river. They write Pam on the back. Now, Captain Martin has a girl named Pam. They write love letters from Pam to put in his pocket. They make them sound desperate and romantic. Don't fly too fast, Bill. Come back to me safely. They fill his pockets with the litter of a real life. Cigarettes, matches, a receipt for a diamond engagement ring. He was going to propose when he got back. A furious letter from his father about an overdraft at the bank, because a real man has money problems. Stubs from a theater show in London dated just a few days ago. Every single item is carefully chosen. They rub the papers on their clothes to make them look handled. They fold and unfold the letters. They are creating a masterpiece of deception. But the most important piece of the puzzle is the letter. The fake secret document that will fool Hitler. It has to be written by a high-ranking general to another high-ranking general. It has to sound casual, yet reveal the top-secret plan. It is a lie wrapped in a truth wrapped in a dead man's jacket. By mid-April 1943, Captain William Martin is ready. He is dressed in a Royal Marines uniform. The boots are a little stiff, so Montague wears them for a day to break them in. The body is placed in a specialized canister designed to keep him cold with dry ice. They load the canister into a van. Ewan Montague and Charles Cholmondeley get in the front seat. It is the middle of the night. They are driving across England to a secret submarine base in Scotland. In the back of the van, sloshing in dry ice, lies the only weapon the Allies have that can save the invasion of Sicily. The dead man is about to go to war.
The van carrying the frozen body of the man we now call Captain Bill Martin rattles north through the night. It arrives at the misty gray docks of Holy Loch, Scotland, just as dawn is breaking. Waiting there is the HMS Seraph, a British submarine. The commander of the sub is Lieutenant Bill Jewell. He is young, only 29, but he has eyes that have seen too much war. He is the only man on the boat, aside from a few senior officers, who knows the truth. When the heavy canister is lowered into the belly of the submarine, the crew watches with suspicion. They are told it contains top-secret optical instruments. They are told it must be kept cold at all costs. They shrug and go back to their stations. In a submarine, you learn not to ask questions. On April 19, 1943, the HMS Seraph casts off. It slips into the cold Atlantic and begins the long, dangerous journey south toward the coast of Spain. Inside the canister, the dry ice is slowly sublimating. The body of the homeless man, Glyndor Michael, is thawing. He is waiting for his moment. 10 days pass. The submarine navigates through waters infested with German U-boats. The air inside the Seraph grows stale and humid. Finally, on the morning of April 30th, they arrive at their destination, a spot just off the coast of Huelva in southern Spain. Why Huelva?
This is a calculated choice. Spain is technically neutral in the war, but it is a nest of spies. Huelva, specifically, is crawling with German agents. There is a very active German vice consul there named Adolf Klaus. He is efficient, he is nosy, and British intelligence knows that if a body washes up with a briefcase, Klaus will move heaven and earth to see what is inside. It is 4:30 in the morning. The moon has set. The sea is calm. The Seraph surfaces, breaking the black water like a whale. Commander Jewell clears the deck. He orders his officers to bring the canister up through the hatch. The moment has come. They unbolt the lid. As the air hits the interior, the smell of decomposition is faint but present. They slide the body out onto the wet steel deck. There he is, Captain William Martin, dressed in his trench coat and battle dress. In his pocket are the love letters from Pam, the receipt for the ring, the angry letter from his father, and crucially, chained to his belt is the black leather briefcase containing the fake invasion plans. Commander Jewell checks the briefcase one last time. It is securely locked. He inflates the life jacket around the corpse's chest. Then, in a moment of genuine respect, Jewell pauses. This man was a stranger, a drifter, but he is now a soldier of the crown. Jewell quietly recites the 39th Psalm. I said, I will take heed to my ways, that I sin not with my tongue. The prayer is whispered into the wind. Then, with a gentle shove, the body slides into the dark Atlantic Ocean. Jewell doesn't stop there. To sell the story that this was a plane crash, they toss a rubber dinghy into the water nearby, upside down. The Seraph reverses its engines, creating a wash that pushes the body toward the Spanish shore. Then the submarine dives and vanishes. The dead man is alone again. Hours later, the sun rises over Spain. A local sardine fisherman named José Antonio Rey María is out in his small boat. He sees something bobbing in the water. He rows closer. He sees the uniform. He sees the face, pale and waxy. José hauls the body to the shore. He is horrified, but he does his duty. He alerts the local authorities. The body is carried on a donkey to a nearby shed. This is the moment Montague and Cholmondeley have been waiting for back in London. But now they have to play a very dangerous game. They can't just sit back and hope the Germans find the documents. That would look suspicious. Instead, the British start sending frantic, encrypted messages. They know the Germans are listening to their radio traffic. Top secret, the messages scream. We have lost a courier, Major Martin. He was carrying sensitive documents. Has a body been found? The briefcase must be returned unopened immediately. They are practically shouting at the Germans, look at the briefcase, look at the briefcase. In Huelva, the Spanish Navy takes custody of the body and the briefcase. The local Spanish officials are honorable men. They have no intention of showing the papers to the Germans. They plan to hand everything back to the British vice consul. This is a disaster for the plan. If the British just get their briefcase back unopened, the whole operation is a failure. But enter Adolf Klaus, the German spy in Huelva. He hears rumors of a drowned British officer. He hears about a briefcase. His ears perk up. He begins to pressure the Spanish officials. He uses bribery. He uses threats. He uses charm. He says, I just want to help. Maybe I can verify the identity. A tug of war begins over the dead man's luggage. Meanwhile, Captain Martin is buried in the cemetery in Huelva with full military honors. The British vice consul, who is also in on the plot, attends the funeral. He places a wreath on the grave with a card from the fictitious fiancée, Pam. It is a heartbreaking scene for a man who never existed. But underground, the game continues. The Spaniards finally crack under the pressure. They agree to let the Germans have a quick look at the documents before they return them to the British. A Spanish officer takes the briefcase into a private room. He melts the wax seals carefully. He uses a specialized tool to roll the letters out without breaking the envelopes. The Germans are there. They photograph every single page. The letter about invading Greece, the letter about the deception in Sicily. They photograph the theater tickets. They photograph the love letters from Pam. Then they carefully reseal the envelopes. They dry the paper to make it look like it was never touched. They hand the briefcase back to the British, smiling, saying, "Here you go, unopened, just as you asked." The British receive the briefcase. It is flown back to London. Montague and Cholmondeley are waiting in the basement. They are sweating. Did it work? Did the Germans open it? Or did the Spanish keep their word? They send the letters to a forensic laboratory. The scientists examine the wax seals under a microscope. They look for microscopic fibers, signs of heat, signs of tampering. The room is silent as the scientist looks up from the microscope. He smiles. "These Spaniards didn't open these," he says. Montague's heart sinks. "But," the scientist continues, "someone else did. The seals have been forged. They read the mail." A cheer goes up in the smoky basement. The fish has bitten. The 8 has been taken. The photographs of the documents are now on a fast plane to Berlin. They are heading straight to the desk of Adolf Hitler. But convincing a spy is one thing. Convincing a dictator who is paranoid and trusts no one is a completely different challenge. The hardest part of the trick is just beginning.
The dossier sits on a polished mahogany desk in Berlin. It has traveled from the pocket of a dead man floating in the Spanish Sea to the camera lens of a German spy, and now into the hands of the high command of the Third Reich. The German intelligence analysts pore over the documents. They scrutinize the casual tone of the letters. They check the dates on the theater tickets. They analyze the technical details of the proposed invasion of Greece. It all looks perfect. In fact, it looks too perfect. Usually, in the world of espionage, if something looks this good, it's a trap. But the British have played a masterstroke of psychology. They knew that Hitler was already paranoid about the Balkans. He had always feared an attack on Greece. The documents simply confirmed what he already wanted to believe. It is a phenomenon known as confirmation bias, and it is about to cost the Nazis the war. On May 12, 1943, Adolf Hitler issues a directive. He declares that the attack on Sicily, which is actually the real attack, will likely be a diversion. He orders that the defense of Greece and Sardinia must be prioritized at all costs. The deception has worked beyond Montague and Cholmondeley's wildest dreams. Across Europe, the great gears of the German war machine begin to grind in reverse. It is a logistical nightmare for the Nazis. An entire panzer division is ordered to move all the way from France to Greece. That is a journey of hundreds of miles, burning precious fuel and wearing out tank tracks for a battle that will never happen. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, one of Germany's best commanders, is sent to Athens to oversee the defense. German E-boats, fast attack craft, are moved from Sicily to the Aegean Sea. Meanwhile, in London, a short cryptic message is sent to Winston Churchill, who is currently in Washington, D.C., meeting with President Roosevelt. The message reads, "Mincemeat swallowed rod, line, and sinker." Churchill smiles. The trap is set. July 9, 1943, the night of the invasion. Operation Husky. A massive Allied armada approaches Sicily. It is the largest amphibious landing in history up to that point, even larger than D-Day would be a year later. 3,000 ships, 160,000 men. The soldiers on those landing craft are terrified. They expect to be slaughtered.
They expect the beaches of Sicily to be a wall of German fire. They clutch their rifles, praying, vomiting from seasickness, waiting for the ramp to drop. But as they storm the beaches of Sicily, something strange happens. There is resistance, yes. The Italian coastal defenders fight back. But the crushing hammer blow of the German panzer divisions? It isn't there. The beaches are not the slaughterhouse they feared. The British and American troops push inland. They secure the beachheads. They capture the ports. And here is the most incredible part. Even as the Allies are pouring into Sicily, the German high command in Berlin is still convinced it is a trick. They believe this massive invasion is just a distraction to draw their forces away from the real target, Greece. For nearly 2 weeks, Hitler refuses to let the troops in Greece move to help Sicily. He keeps them waiting for an invasion that will never come. By the time he realizes he has been duped, it is too late. The Allies have a foothold in Europe. The soft underbelly of the crocodile has been ripped open. Casualty estimates for the invasion of Sicily were high. Thousands of young men were expected to die in the first few days. Instead, the casualties are a fraction of that number. Thousands of American and British soldiers go home to their families after the war, have children, and live full lives, never knowing that their survival owed to a homeless man named Glyndor Michael. The war grinds on for 2 more years, but the fall of Sicily is the beginning of the end. Mussolini is toppled, Italy surrenders, the road to Berlin is open. Back in Spain, in the cemetery of Huelva, the grave of William Martin remains quiet under the hot sun. For decades, nobody knew the truth. The British government kept the file sealed. It wasn't until 1996 that the British government officially revealed the true identity of the man in the grave. A postscript was added to the tombstone. It reads, "Glyndor Michael, served as Major William Martin, R.M." Glyndor Michael was a man who, in life, had nothing. No home, no money, no family, no purpose. He died alone in a warehouse, in pain and despair. But in death, he achieved something that the greatest generals in history could only dream of. He fooled a tyrant, saved an army, and helped liberate a continent. He was the man who never was, but he is a hero who will never be forgotten.